Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a brand new edition of The Odds and Honest Truth. I am Kurt Gormanoff alongside Rich Wilhelm. I'm so good at pointing now, guys.
Yeah, pretty perfect.
It's really a great time here on the In the Money Media Network. Thank you so much for listening to the show this week and every week. If you are listening via podcast, wherever you listen to your podcast, make sure you like and subscribe. Give us a nice 5-star rating. If you're listening on YouTube, watching on YouTube, give us a like, give us a follow. Smash that notification bell, whatever we're talking about on YouTube these days, and drop some comments in the players below. We'd love to hear from you. You can interact with us on Twitter via @Seagorf94, @Coda522, or @OddsHonestTruth. And of course, we wouldn't be anywhere without our friends over at Chalkboard. Download the Chalkboard app today. Head on over to the Odds Honest Truth board. We have all kinds of great bets and plays coming to you almost every single day of the week in every single sport, whether hockey's your game, college basketball, college football, NFL, NBA, whatever your poison is, we got it for you over on Chalkboard. We have a great community of bettors and players over there. So get involved today. Head on over to Chalkboard, download the app, enjoy the Odds Honest Truth board. And we're still giving away that bottle of whiskey just in time for the holidays. Head on over, download the app, join the board, and all you got to do is comment #ITM Whiskey. #ITM Whiskey. For all you old folks listening, that's the pound signal, right? That's this guy. Pound signal, ITM Whiskey. Shift 3 ITM Whiskey. I don't know how much more clear I could be. For your chance to be randomly selected, we'll be giving away this bottle of whiskey on next week's show. So make sure you do that. Join Chalkboard, Odds Honest Truth board, and then #ITM Whiskey. Rich, it's been a fun week. Happy December.
Yeah.
I took a week off from betting last week. I think that's an important thing if you've gone cold. I think you need to take a week off here or there. Get your mind right and get back into a rhythm here. I'm feeling very confident heading into this weekend. How was your betting week last week?
I mean, it was up and down. My favorite thing is when you bet a player under a certain amount and they get 0.5 yards under what you bet. So this week I got Foster Marode. He needed 1 yard and he didn't get it for me. But besides that, I mean, it was an up and down thing. But like you said, it's good to take a cooling off period if you're cold, but get back on the horse and ride, because I mean, football, it's only on for a certain amount of weeks. But I mean, obviously we talk about all different types of sports. But another thing that I want to kind of throw out there is, we were talking about Chalkboard before. New update this week. You actually see when your bets are posted onto Chalkboard from your sports book and when they're finalized, which is awesome. I got a notification today from Chalkboard, which kind of reminded me that I bet tonight, which I totally forgot I bet. So thank you, Chalkboard, for just showing how much of a degenerate I actually am. So, but yeah, I mean, we're still super up this year. There's really no way for us to go down at this point. We started on fire, we're going to end on fire. And that starts on Thursday night with the Steelers and the Vikings. And I think just based on that, I just got to go right into it. I can't do a better lead-in than that. So I'm going to.
No, you really can't.
I'm just going to take it and go.
So Thursday Night Football, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's the Minnesota Vikings. Both of these teams have some really exciting betting angles. We've been betting both of these teams all season long. These are some really exciting teams across the NFL. Both have some high-powered offenses. The Steelers have been a little hit or miss. So have the Vikings as well. Steelers coming off a big win.
Vikings lost to the Lions. So
yeah. I mean, this is a fun game on Thursday night for sure. Rich, what are some of your plays this week heading into Thursday Night Football?
So it's really frightening that I like the Steelers in this game, because honestly, the Steelers are not a great team this year. But there's just so much stuff that kind of lines up the Steelers' way in this game. Dalvin Cook tore his pec. They're saying he's questionable for Thursday night. But I mean, if the Vikings are going to put that man on the field, he's going to be a decoy. Adam Thielen is out too. So, I mean, it's Justin Jefferson and KJ Osborne versus the world, essentially, for the Vikings at wide receiver. And they also have Alexander Madison at running back, which, I mean, he's a good running back, to say the least, but he's not Dalvin Cook. So right off the bat, the Steelers are getting 3 points. I think the Steelers win this game, but I cannot bet money line for them for some reason because they just find ways to screw it up. I mean, the reason they won last week is because the Ravens went for 2 when they could have kicked the extra point to tie it. And I think the Ravens would have won in overtime if that happened. But Steelers +3, it's the odds are +100. I'm always going to take plus money if I can. And here's your chance to do that. With that being said, you look at Ben Roethlisberger. Ben as a whole, you think he's had a bad year, which he has, yard wise and everything else. But the thing about Ben Roethlisberger is he's only had 6 interceptions for the entire year. He's gone 8 games out of these 13 without an interception, which is a weird stat that, not a lot of people will look at, but I am. And I think I'm going to bet the under on interceptions for Big Ben this week. It's under 0.5 interceptions, which again is +100 odds. Whenever you can find plus money, you take it. And that's my second plus bet for the week. And then KJ Osborne, like I said before, with Justin Jefferson, being the guy, he's probably gonna get a ton of targets. But KJ Osborne is filling in for Adam Thielen. His over/under this week is 41.5, which is usually about half of what Adam Thielen gets. I think he definitely can get to that 41.5. His odds are -135, and just based on Cook not officially being ruled out. We don't know the odds on Alexander Mattison anytime touchdown, but even if Dalvin Cook plays, Madison is my bet on this one. I think he's going to be the running back that gets most of the carries, even if Dalvin Cook plays, because the guy he just got a major injury. He shouldn't be on the field on Thursday Night Football. So hammer the Madison anytime touchdown, Steelers +3, KJ Osborne over 41.5, Big Ben under that 0.5 interception. And let's go Steelers, which just feels kind of dirty saying as a Jets fan, but tomorrow I got to go with my money. So
yeah, I don't disagree with you. And one of the plays that I'm looking at tomorrow night as well, on Caesar Sportsbook, we talk about the super boost quite a lot, but there's a lot of other kind of odds boosts that they throw out there, and there's a lot of really good value there. And one of the boosts right now at +325, Deontay Johnson and Justin Jefferson to each score a touchdown. Justin Jefferson is the top wide receiver on the Minnesota Vikings. Deontay Johnson is coming off of a 2-touchdown game. The week before against the Bengals, he did not get in the end zone. But if we look at kind of his last 3 or 4 games, he's gotten 7 to 9 receptions. He's been around 100 yards. To me, the likelihood of him getting in the end zone is pretty high. And then you look at Justin Jefferson. To me, he's the top target in Minnesota. I really like those odds there as well. I think that this is going to be a little bit of a passing game as well. I really like both those guys to get in the end zone. So +325, Deontay Johnson and Justin Jefferson just get a touchdown. I really like. But when you look at this game, kind of overall, the Vikings are favored by 3 points. I don't think they're going to win this game. They're coming off of a loss against the Lions. The Steelers are coming off of a win against their rivals, the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens, one of the top teams in the AFC. I know they've been a little bit like this over the past couple of weeks, but you just kind of look at the trajectory of these two teams. I think the Steelers are the hotter hand. I look at the over-under here. I really like the under on this one. I think Thursday night games are typically on the lower scoring side. It's 43.5. I like the under here. I don't think this is going to be a particularly high-scoring matchup. I think this could be a bit of a boring game, maybe like Monday Night Football was with the Patriots and the Bills. It was a bit of a snooze fest. I have to admit I fell asleep for a quarter there. Yeah, I'm not such a huge fan of this matchup in general, but I think that, I think we'll see a couple of key touchdowns from some top targets in this game. And I really like the under here. Any additional thoughts here on Thursday Night Football?
No, I mean, it's like you said, it's going to be a mismatch of guys, battling injuries on both sides. I think the under is definitely something that could hit, but then Kirk Cousins does weird stuff and just throws magical touchdowns out of
It's a
nowhere. And
hard,
then
yeah.
he'll throw the pick at the end of the game. So, um, it's definitely, there's a lot of bets to be had. Not a lot of odds are out right now just because the injuries, but it's definitely a game to get healthy. Just you can bet a slew of different bets on this one. So let's go Steelers again, one more time.
Give me the Pittsburgh Steelers. While we're on the topic of the NFL, I think we'd be remiss to not hear from In the Money Media's own Jonathon Kinchen. If you are a fan of the In the Money Media Network, you know him, you love him. Jonathon Kinchen. He's one of the best bettors out there. Bit of a chalk eating weasel, a little bit. Well, that's why we sell the shirt over at Old Smoke, the chalk eating weasel shirt. But this is a guy you want to follow his picks if you want to make some money. So without further ado, let's throw it on over to the Chief Creative Officer, Jonathon Kinchen. How are we going to get paid this NFL Sunday?
Odds, honest, truth, crew. We cashed last week. It was nothing special, nothing over the top. Same vibes this week. I've told you guys before, I love the teases. I love when you can get 7 points in your favor. This game is designed to be a coin flip with the point spread. Let's shoot a 3-team teaser this week. I want to take the Chiefs. Most places have around 9, 10. Let's bring them down under a field goal if you can. -2.5, -3. Not as good. I'd like to get to that -2.5 with the Chiefs. I think they're going to continue to pick up the pieces. Patrick Mahomes starting to see it a little bit better. They weren't brilliant against the Broncos, but they played just fine. I'm also going to use the Seahawks. Seahawks a little bit sneaky. Have been kind of off and on a little bit, battling through some injuries, but I do think they're going to handle the backup quarterback for the Texans. That's who it feels like it's going to be. Sounds like Tyrod Taylor won't be ready in time for Sunday. And then a little over-under action. I love teasing unders. Let's tease the Rams and the Cardinals. I love when you have great defenses, good defenses, let's not say great, going against good offenses. The offenses will move the ball, get first downs, punt. Get first downs and punt. Switching that field position. I love unders in those games. We'll go Rams, Cardinals under. We'll go Seahawks, and we'll go Chiefs. Good luck.
Thank you so much, Jonathon. From the gridiron over to the ice, let's head on over to Thomas Crincoli. Thomas, how are we going to make some money in the NHL this week?
Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Tom Crincoli from the Odds Honest Truth podcast, coming here with NHL picks for Thursday, December 9th. We're almost in Christmas time, holiday spirit. I'm wearing something with a holiday look on it right now, but doesn't matter because my presents, I guess, for this week are going to be some winning NHL picks. And we're going to start real quick with the Columbus Blue Jackets, who are going up against the Anaheim Ducks at home. So the Columbus Blue Jackets, they've been struggling as of late. Lots of goal scoring going on here. Anaheim Ducks have looked pretty good. I think it's about time that the Blue Jackets get things together and start to pick things back up as they were earlier in the season. You know, they've kind of gotten to that trajectory that everyone thought they'd be at earlier in the year with not the greatest roster, but this team can put up a fight. I like Elvis Merzlikins in net, whether it's John Gibson or Anthony Stolarz in net for the Anaheim Ducks. I think it's time for the Blue Jackets to get a win here. I like them at home. The odds right now are showing -105. It's a pretty good play to have right there. They're favorites, but they're actually underdogs in this one by a slight margin. And I think there's a little bit too much of a hype against this Anaheim Ducks team. Anaheim's got a good amount of rookies in their lineup. We've seen a revamp from Ryan Getzlaf, but I think this is a great position to buy the Blue Jackets a little bit lower than normal. Whereas Lickens, good goaltender, John Gibson, the good goaltender. Stick with the money line on the Blue Jackets. If you want, maybe take the under for under 6.5, but it all depends on goaltending. So I'm leaning right now. First pick, Blue Jackets -105 for the money line. Moving on to our next pick, we're going to look at the New York Islanders at home, UBS Arena. It's been a fun time for them. Obviously, My Rangers just got stomped, but they're doing a little bit better than the Islanders. Islanders have not won at their home arena yet. It's been a struggle. They finally get a win the other night against the Ottawa Senators after, I think, losing, 11 consecutive games? Something completely crazy. But I'm not going to stick to my biases here. I'm going with the New York Islanders, minus 115 against the Nashville Predators. Predators are very hot right now. Islanders, they're not looking great. I think everyone can see that. But it's tough to say that they should be this bad. I think there's been a little bit of the yips, a little bit of butterflies going into each game, knowing that if we don't win this one, we're going to be the next talk of the town again. We're going to be, the laughing stock of the papers, all the columns saying how the Islanders are frauds after making such a run last year. I think getting that one win out of the way after losing so many games, it's a good opportunity to buy the Islanders here. Take them at home. I think this is the first win they take at UBS Arena. So moving on to our third pick of the night, I'm going to go with the Edmonton Oilers at home against the Boston Bruins. Bruins are surprising me right now because they're in the middle of the pack right now. You look at their roster, and it's been a pretty consistent roster. Obviously, they lose Tuukka Rask last year. They're going with Jeremy Swayman and Linus Ullmark in net. But other than that, I mean, they're looking pretty similar top to bottom. So they might be able to roll with the punches with Edmonton, but Edmonton is looking like more of a complete team now. Edmonton's defense was pretty injured for a while, but they're getting Darnell Nurse back. Connor McDavid's Connor McDavid. No suspension for him. Obviously, any other player, in my opinion, I think he gets suspended on that one hit he makes. But you're looking at Jesse Puljujarvi, Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, Kyler Yamamoto, Zach Hyman. Who saw this coming? Everyone probably thought he was going to be an overpay. And he's plugging right in there very well with Connor McDavid. So taking Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers at minus 125 as my third pick. My last pick of the night is going to be Calgary, Carolina under 5.5. These are two teams that are at the top of their divisions. And who would have saw this coming with Calgary this year? You look at the goaltending that they're getting from Dan Vladar and Jacob Markstrom. It's absurd. It's insane. They have a collection of shutouts combined. Carolina is also a very good team. Fallen off since the beginning. They're obviously not undefeated anymore, like everyone expected, or like everyone was seeing. But you look at Calgary and Carolina, I think this is going to be a very close game. You'll see a lot of competition, keeping things tight. Great goaltending. Freddie Anderson probably in net for the Carolina Hurricanes. This is at the bottom of the barrel of my favorite picks of the night. Still like it. I'm still going to roll with it. I'm not going to give out picks and not roll with them. So we're going to go with Calgary, Carolina under 5.5. That might scare some people with that 5.5. But anyway, we'll recap real quick. So Columbus Blue Jackets money line minus 105 right now. Edmonton Oilers minus 125 money line right now. New York Islanders at home minus 115 right now. And then we'll take the Calgary Flames versus the Carolina Hurricanes under 5.5 at minus 120. Those are my picks. Everyone ride, choose to ride, don't ride. It doesn't matter. But if anyone does ride, let's win, guys.
Now from the NHL to the NCAA basketball, we're going to head on over to Interstate of Green's own David Dubovy. David, been doing some great work for us, always on interstateofgreen.com, talking about all things New York Jets and Philadelphia Eagles, but also doing a great job breaking down the college basketball scene. So, David, why don't you give out your best bets for the college basketball scene?
What's up, everyone? Here are 3 college basketball games to keep an eye on for this weekend. Starting off today, we got 7th-ranked Texas visiting number 23 ranked Seton Hall. Texas is coming into the 6-1. Their only losses to Gonzaga this year. Seton Hall is coming into the 7-1. Their only losses to Ohio State. This is a Big East, Big 12 battle. Texas right now is a 2-point favorite. Seton Hall is my favorite team, and I keep an eye on them very closely. So I think Seton Hall is very deep. This is Kevin Willard's deepest team in a very long time. I have Seton Hall winning this game in a very close game. I would take the under in this. Both teams are very good defensively, and this is going to be a low-scoring game. I got Seton Hall winning and I would definitely take the under, like I said. Next tonight as well, we got Iowa, which are 7-2, visiting Iowa State, 17th ranked Iowa State, and they are 8-0. Iowa right now is a 4.5-point favorite. I think Iowa is going to pull off this upset. I would also take the over. I think this is going to be a very high-scoring game. Lastly, on Saturday, December 11th, we got 4th-ranked UCLA visiting Marquette. UCLA is going to be too much for this Marquette team, in my opinion, when all's said and done. This is going to be a good litmus test, though, for Marquette. So far, the Big East is around 77-21 as a conference, which is very good. But UCLA is one of the best teams in the country, and they're going to be fighting for a title this year. So I have UCLA winning this, but Marquette's going to be in this for a while. See you guys next week. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, David. Let's head on over to NFL Sunday, Rich. We got a fun slate of games here. A couple of trappy games, in my opinion. There's a couple of games I wouldn't bet with your money, but there's a couple of really fun matchups as well. Some good betting matchups and just some good football in general. So let's dive right in and let's kick things off. We chatted a little bit offline about our New York Jets. For starters, we're some New York Jets fans. You and I, we're not wearing our hats this week because they're just a terrible team to watch. But they're 5-point underdogs this week against a Saints team that has been pretty bad the last couple of weeks. What's your overall impressions about the New York Jets?
Well, as far as the Jets go, or as far as this game goes?
Either or, whatever.
Okay,
whatever
their defense sucks. So
Yeah.
they're ranked 32 in the NFL in total defense. So for me, I think Taysom Hill and Kamara combined are going to go for about 300 yards. And I'm not even that's not even an over exaggeration. I mean, the team is going to probably walk away with, at least 250 rushing yards all purpose. Taysom Hill is really bad at throwing the ball. And we saw that against the Cowboys. He kind of throws it to the other team on purpose. But the problem is the Jets don't know how to intercept the ball, which could be a conundrum at the end of the day. So this is not a game I would want to bet because I don't want to bet against my team. But if I was picking a side, it would absolutely be the Saints -5 in this one, just because the defense cannot get out of its own way. Elijah Moore is battling an injury. Corey Davis is on injured reserve. Michael Carter's not back yet. So it's just Zach Wilson versus the world, and he's not ready for the world. So definitely the Saints -5 if I'm picking a side on this one.
Yeah, I like Kamara to get in the end zone here. I like the under a lot. The over-under's at 43. I like the under a lot. I -5. I don't know. I might have to sleep on that one just a little bit because the Saints have been a bit of a dumpster fire as well. But when they're getting on the kind of the right side of the injury train and the Jets are on the wrong side, it certainly gives you a lot to consider.
Chicken noodle soup game, Craig. That's what this is for the Saints. Yeah.
We love the chicken noodle soup game, and the
Not
Saints
this
might
week.
need one. Exactly. Rich, why don't you break down another game for us? What do you like to bet this weekend?
So I'll start by saying I don't like the Seahawks at all. As a franchise, they're just a team that you love to hate. And I know a lot of people love Russell Wilson and yada 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 and their defense and 12th man. I don't like any of that. I think Russell Wilson is an overrated quarterback. I think Pete Carroll's an overrated coach. Their defense is kind of in shambles right now. I love Tyler Lockett. And Metcalf obviously is a top 10 wide receiver. It's just they're not gelling right now. But they're facing the Texans, which is the only team that I can think in my head that is worse than the New York Jets right now. Well, maybe the Jaguars too. But the spread right now is 7.5. If you're looking at this game before the season starts, this might have been 17.5. Just looking at it, with Watson not starting and all that other stuff. But I really think that the Seahawks can absolutely cover 7.5 against the Texans. You have Davis Mills starting at quarterback for the Texans. You have my neighbor starting at running back, for the Texans. David Johnson shouldn't be a starting, running back for any team right now. On the other side of the ball, I mean, Russell Wilson's still a quarterback, even though he hasn't been great since he was the MVP candidate last year. Since that came out, he has never played the same. And, everything that happened with his finger this year didn't add to, any positive vibes on that side. But I do think that the Seahawks win this game by like 14. To me, this is going to be like a 24-10 type game or a 17-3 type game. It's going to be, kind of a low scoring game. But it's definitely one that is probably the top of my list as far as spreads because it just jumped off the page when I saw it. So, and I think it's going to be a game for Russell Wilson to get a little healthy, sling the ball around because the Texans can't come back. So he can just try some things. So that's 7.5.
I like the chicken noodle soup aspect here. It's another game where I really like the under, 41.5. The Texans aren't really capable of putting up a lot of points. Seahawks haven't been capable of putting up a lot of points. I think we'll be lucky to see 24 on that side.
Let's put it in perspective. Last week, the over-under for the Bucs and Falcons game was 50.5, right? And we called the under on that. The Bucs are a lot better scoring team than the Seahawks. And the Falcons, they can keep games somewhat competitive, even though they're terrible too. So, that 9-point swing right there, that kind of just drives it home for me. Bet the under for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I really like the under in this matchup. Let's jump to another game we were talking about in the little in between here, and it's a game I feel trappy on. It's a game that it's one of those things I don't necessarily want to put money towards, but I think it's an interesting game, and that's the Tennessee Titans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's an 8.5-point spread. By rights, the Titans are a significantly better team than the Jaguars, but there's something very trappy to me about this. There's something about the Titans that, to me, doesn't feel like they're not the same team that they were a couple of weeks ago, when a couple of weeks ago I was touting them as the best team in football. They're just not that squad anymore without Derrick Henry. They've been bit by the injury bug. Ryan Tannehill doesn't look like the same Ryan Tannehill we saw earlier in the year. And, the Jaguars are one of those teams that they're hard to predict just because they're young and they're inexperienced, and sometimes they can show up and sometimes they can't. So at -8.5, do you like this spread here at all, or is this something you're keeping your money away from?
See, the only reason why I do like this spread is because of what the Rams did to the Jags last week. The Rams are coming off of an atrocious kind of, 3 or 4 game, span there, and they completely blew the door off of the Jags. It's just you're looking at the Jags and you're like, oh man, like they don't have a lot. But that's kind of what you're looking at with the Titans. They started out with a lot and they're kind of coming into the middle. The Jags are just getting worse and worse and worse. It was bottom level talent on that team, and it's just, getting worse by the week. Trevor Lawrence has nothing to work with in Jacksonville. Absolutely nothing. James Robinson's is only like shining star, but he's not a shining star as of late. So you look at the Titans on the other side of the ball, you got Julio coming back. Their defense is playing well. Westbrook, he's up and down at receiver, but he's serviceable. You got Chester Rogers, who is absolutely no AJ Brown. And AJ Brown obviously is on injured reserve, so he's not playing this game either. But Ryan Tannehill, it's hard to play without an all-star running back. You're just dropping the ball off and handing the ball off. He's not the one to put this team on his shoulders. I think they beat the Jags by 10. Am I betting this spread? No. Would I bet the Titan side of it? Yes. But that's kind of up to you guys. But this is the type of game that it's going to be close. It's going to be kind of within 2 points of this spread when you bet it.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's one of those games that I'm going to keep my money away from, but it just feels a little trappy to me. And so, if you're feeling really bold, maybe you throw your money on the plus 8.5 for the Jags, but I wouldn't recommend it. But if you're feeling really bold, this does feel kind of trappy to me. So, I'll leave it at that. Rich, you and I got a little bit of a debate here going on, but before we do, let's get into some of your other bets of the week. Who do you like this NFL Sunday?
So, I mean, you mentioned, the plus 8.5 for the Jags. If you want to do the plus money on a team, I mean, let's go Lions. They are battling a bit of a flu bug right now, so keep that in mind. Obviously, if Jared Goff does not play this game, do not bet the Lions. He is one of the people that has a flu, but it's not COVID. So let him use those tissues, get some hot toddy in there, and have him good to go. If Jared Goff plays, I like the Lions plus 8. I know the Dolphins are kind of on a crazy win streak right now. I'm not saying the Dolphins are going to lose this game. I just think that the Lions keep every game very competitive. The Lions just beat the Vikings, even though it took, a last second touchdown. They still did it. That's all that counts.
At the end of the day, when it comes to betting, right, it doesn't matter when it happened. As long as it happened.
Exactly. My guy, Amon Ross St. Brown, which if you listen to the show, I definitely called him. He was one of my guys. He's on my dynasty team. He's showing that he's the number one wide receiver in Detroit. He's having a good couple of games. Swift is not going to play for the Lions, but Williams is doing his thing. So on the other side of the ball, the Dolphins, Waddle, he's doing great things at receiver. Jalen Waddle is definitely a gem for that team. And Gesicki, Gesicki's always great. And Tua is looking incredible these past couple of weeks, which is, music to my ears, because I much rather them have Tua than Deshaun Watson next year. So let's keep it going, Tua. But yeah, I think the Dolphins win this game. I think it's going to be like a 5-6 point game. I like the Lions to cover if Goff is here. So take that plus money and run.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think the Lions have been a competitive team all year. I know it took them until a last second touchdown to get their first win of the season, but they're in games. Like they're not out here getting blown out. So I like that a lot. I'm totally with you. So let's get into a little bit of a debate here, and let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys against the Washington football team. The spread here is 4 points, so a little bit more than a field goal. I think that's an important line here, and I personally am on the side of the football team. They are on a 4-game win streak. They've put up some really strong performances over the last couple of weeks, including a win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They beat the Seattle Seahawks. They beat the Las Vegas Raiders, who beat the Cowboys just a couple of weeks ago on Thanksgiving. This is a gutsy team. They have some very talented players. I don't think that this is a Super Bowl contender. I don't think this is by far, a top-tier team in the NFL. But they're a gutsy team. And I don't necessarily think that this Cowboy team, who has been a little bit suspect, they had a good game against the Saints, but it's kind of hard not to have a good game against the Saints. They lost to the Chiefs. They put the beat down on the Falcons a couple of weeks ago. But again, these are kind of suspect teams in the NFL. I don't think the Cowboys have been playing against these kind of like gutsy, defensive-minded football teams like the Washington football team is. Do I necessarily think the Cowboys lose this game? No. I think they could win this game. But I think it's going to be by a field goal. I think this is going to be a tight game. And for those reasons, I like the football team +4 here.
All right. Well, I'm going to tell you why I like the Cowboys -4 here. And it kind of lines up perfectly with what you just said. They beat the Patriots. So let's talk about the Patriots as compared to the Washington football team, right? Washington football team has a really good defense, a middle-of-the-road quarterback who knows how to, drop the ball off, and then kind of like middle-of-the-road, skill players that, can help, the offense click. And although it took overtime for the Cowboys to beat the Patriots, they did beat the Patriots by 6. So I'm not saying the Washington football team or the Patriots, because I think, the Patriots are a lot better team. But if we're comparing a game, I don't think you can compare, Washington beat, the Cowboys losing to the Raiders and Washington beating the Raiders, because that was a completely different team too. So, but as far as this game goes, the Cowboys are full strength now. They have all their reserves back. You got DeMarcus Lawrence back, Randy Gregory is back, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Ezekiel Elliott, Pollard, Dak. Everyone is back 100%. And then Washington's not 100%. They just lost their star tight end for probably the year.
But did they ever really have him?
He scored a touchdown before he went down.
I guess, but they had him for 2 games.
I think they won those 2 games though. It's big, but
they're on a 4-game win streak.
I know. The Cowboys definitely are the gem of that division. They have not lost in that division yet. I don't know if they're going to lose in that division, this year in general. I think they might sweep, but it's just, if we're just basing it off of these 2 teams right now, I think the hot hand really, even though the Washington football team has the win streak, I think the hot hand right now is the Cowboys. They're fighting the Packers and the Bucks kind of for the NFC right now. I think the Rams kind of dropped off a little bit. I think those are the 3 teams that are going to be competing. And 4 points really isn't a lot in the scheme of things. I think they definitely cover that, but we're going to have to come back to this game next week just to see who won, because, we don't normally battle like this, but I'm into it. We need more battles like this. But
yeah, I think the battle is fun. And, I think that, I know the Cowboys are healthy, but the football team has a lot of blue chip players. They have Terry McLaurin. They have Antonio Gibson. Gibson had a monster game last week. And Heineke, you compared this game to, say, the Patriots matchup. Heineke is a lot gutsier than oh wow, I'm blanking on his name over
Mac Jones. Well, you can blank on his name because he threw 3 total passes and 1. So
right.
you didn't really hear his name often on Monday night, but
Mac Jones is a very safe quarterback. Heineke has a little bit more of that gunslinger in him, and that can win you games, that can lose you games. But I don't necessarily think that that's such a perfect analogy between the football team and the Patriots.
It's the closest I can get with the schedule. I tried to pair it up. I think this is going to be like a 10-point beatdown, but I want to play devil's advocate the best I can. So that's the team I can kind of line up the most out of the people they played.
No, listen, I think it's fair. And for the viewers at home, we don't do a lot of devil's advocate, you and I. We tend to just kind of tell it as we think it. So I think that's how you can tell that there's a strong difference of opinion here, is because we're not just agreeing. It's not just devil's advocate. So I think this is a game that I'm going to continue to handicap over the next couple of days. I'll make a business decision Sunday morning. But I very much feel like the Cowboys aren't that much better than the football team. I think the football team can win this game. But I don't necessarily think the Cowboys are better than a field goal. So that's where I'm at as of Wednesday, December 8th at 10:15 p.m. And we'll see where I'm at on Sunday morning. Rich, did you have any other games you wanted to take a look at for NFL Sunday?
I actually got 3 left. 1's plus, and then 2 are minus. We'll kind of go a little quicker through these. Baltimore plus 2.5 over the Browns. They just beat this team 2 weeks ago, and the game was terrible. The game was disgusting to watch. It was an awful, awful, awful game. But the difference is the Ravens are coming off a loss, and Harbaugh does not like to lose 2 games in a row. I think that the Ravens definitely are out for blood in this game. When the season started, I thought the Browns were kind of like a dark horse Super Bowl contender. I don't feel that way anymore. I also don't feel that the Ravens are either. I'm happy that, as a Jets fan, I don't like seeing the Patriots as number 1 seed in the AFC, but it's kind of a little bit better than seeing the Ravens up there because they're just like a kind of a make-believe fraudish team. It's just a lot of things fell into place this year. They got a little lucky. I don't think this game is going to be like that. I could see the Ravens winning this by a touchdown, which a touchdown is more than, negative 2.5. They're starting the game with 2.5 points. So I'll take the Ravens all day long against the Browns in this matchup.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Browns are I don't know how they got the favorite here, to be perfectly honest.
It's hard to beat a team twice in a row, I guess. I don't know. There's all these angles that the Browns are coming off of a bye. The Ravens are coming off of a bad loss. It's kind of Vegas knows sometimes. So when they do these fluky lines, you're like, oh man, what am I doing? But it gets people to come in and bet, which at the end of the day, that's what they want, because you're not going to just bet the Baltimore Ravens plus 2.5. You're gonna bet another couple games, and you're probably gonna stumble along the way because you're trying to do all these fun parlays. But it's just to draw people in. But I'm drawn in. I'm probably just betting the Ravens straight, so you can't have my money this week, Vegas. And then to finish it up, I got two of the big spreads that I really like. The Packers are minus 12.5 against the Bears. Aaron Rodgers just destroys Chicago. It's just, he owns them. He knows that he owns them. Justin Fields, there's no, any way around it. If you guys listen to the show, I'm not a huge fan of Justin Fields. I'm not saying Justin Fields is not going to be good in the future. He's just not good right now. And there's injury reports coming out about Montgomery. They don't really have a lot of receiving options outside of Allen Robinson and Mooney. Allen Robinson has been hurt. Mooney had an off game last week. He played great on Thanksgiving, but he had an off game last week. I just think overall the Packers are getting closer to 100%. And I could definitely see them winning by 2 touchdowns against the Bears in this interdivisional rival game here. And then the last one, we'll kind of clump these two together. This is contingent on Mike Williams and Chris Harris playing, because they were exposed to COVID by Keenan Allen, who is not playing. But the coach said that they could play on Sunday. If Mike Williams and Chris Harris play, I like the Chargers minus 10.5. Chargers are going against the Giants, who are led by Jake Fromm. Jake Fromm, if anyone watched Georgia, wasn't great. Even as a Georgia fan, I could tell you he did not, resonate well to the NFL. I think the Chargers are just going to destroy them. If you have any fantasy matchups, you want to add the LA Chargers to your lineup ASAP. Galladay didn't practice on Wednesday. Tony didn't practice on Wednesday. Saquon cannot carry the load because he's kind of one ankle away from never playing again. I like the Chargers 10.5. I like the Packers minus 12.5. Those are my big spreads. People shy away from big spreads, but when the teams are so different, you just got to hammer it.
Yeah, I agree with those. I think that a lot of times big spreads scare me, but these matchups just seem so mismatched that I have a hard time coming up with a devil's advocate reason to disagree with you. A closer spread that I'm taking a look at this week, and I know I gave them out last week and they didn't deliver, but I really like the 49ers minus 1.5 this week against the swollen pinky finger Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. Once that injury happened, they were a different team last week against the Chargers. They completely collapsed after mounting a pretty impressive comeback. But this team is kind of built around Joe Burrow and this offense being able to score points. And I don't necessarily know what his ability is going to be like to score points. The 49ers, on the other hand, they're a stout defensive front. Jimmy G can put up some points. That's not the best offense in the world, but they can put up some points. And I think they're going to win this game, and odds are they're going to win by more than 2 points. I mean, it's very hard in the NFL to win by by less than 2 points. It's very rare you see like a 1 point game in the NFL. It's usually a field goal. I really like this spread. So I would take the 49ers minus 1.5. Rich, is there anything else you want to add about this NFL week or any other game going on this week?
I would just say look at that spread, because there's a possibility that Mitchell, the running back, and Debo don't play in this game. And then you might be betting the San Francisco 49ers with a few points their way, which with the way that Kittle played last week, I mean, it's going to be a good matchup anyway. So that's one that you can bet on your own, because that one is scary for me, because both of those teams could win. Definitely. You got injuries on both sides, both, good teams in their own right. So that's all you, buddy. Your San Francisco 49ers taking you to glory land, but I'm gonna sit this one out.
It's a shame because I like both of those teams. But I just seeing Joe Burrow struggle the way he did last week, I don't see a scenario in which the Bengals can win this game. Despite everything going on the other side of the football, I don't see a scenario in which the Bengals win this week with the status of Joe Burrow's throwing hand. He was in a ton of pain. I don't care what the injury reports say. It's going to take more than 1 week of practice and rest to get him right. So that's my odds honest truth right there. Thank you so much for listening to the Odds Honest Truth podcast this week and every week that you do right here on the In the Money Media Network. We want to thank Jonathon Kinchen, Thomas Crincoli, and David Dubovy for their submissions this week and lending their expertise to their respective sports right here on Odds Honest Truth. Make sure you get involved over at Chalkboard. It's an incredibly fun social experience for sports bettors to share their bets, track their bets, and interact with a really knowledgeable community. We're giving out picks. We're giving out, not just us, Rich and I, but people from all over our community are giving out really great picks every single day of the week. There's nothing wrong with taking a pick from someone else or taking the advice from someone else and maybe leveraging that into a different play for yourself. It's a lot of fun over there. Download the Chalkboard app today. Join the Odds Honest Truth board. And we're still giving away that bottle of In the Money whiskey. You can message hashtag ITM whiskey in any one of our boards for a chance to win. We'll be giving away that bottle of whiskey on next week's show, just in time for the holidays. That's going to do it for this week's edition of Odds Honest Truth. I am Craig Gormanoff. You can follow me on Twitter at Seagorbs94. You can follow Rich at Coda522. And you can follow the show at Odds Honest Truth. For Rich, for Jonathan, for Thomas, for David, and for everyone over at the In the Money Media Network, thank you so much for listening to this show. Make sure to like and subscribe. And until next week, allegedly, that'll do it.